Alright. Now, because the suit ended up being so tight, I'm going to cut my original pattern wider than it's cut right here. Now, this is kind of an on-the-fly modification, but I will redraw the pattern out wider, so hopefully yours that you are cutting out will be perfectly fine. Time to sew this together and then we'll test fit. This is going to be sewn, this is the back, because it doesn't have the V. So this is going to be sewn all the way down. Real quick, if it's too tight or not. Notice these are so small that you can get away with not pinning it. Just doesn't have time to shift on you. Alright, so here's our test fit. You know, I noticed I took Loki's face off, and that's because now I'm dealing with the doll so much I didn't want it to get hurt. So remember, it's going to be a little bit smaller because after I line it, it will be a little bit smaller. So we want to line up here, and then I'm just going to pin it as if I've sewn it. And then again, you can make that exact same adjustment for your doll if you have a different size doll. I'm just following the line of my pins. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace out new patterns so that your patterns that you're working from right now will be completely right. Alright, what we're going to do now is we have sewn all the edges and then we've turned it inside out. That took a while, so that's why I did that off screen. So we have two flaps that look like this, and then what you do is you pick which side is going to be your right side, and you're going to pin the insides together, starting a little bit above the top seam where the armpit is, and you go all the way down to the bottom and a little bit past the bottom seam. And then I'll show you what's going to happen when you do this. Now what that did is it sewed the outside of the side together but left the inside of the side open, because if you sewed it all the way around shut, you wouldn't be able to get to it. So now we have the outside is completely sewn together right here, and then this inside we have to hand sew that together. All you do to do that, so I'm going to do that off screen too because that'll take a while. All you do to do that is just fold it like that, and then you're going to slip stitch all along the inside there, and that puts the seam together on the inside as well. So we have to do that same thing here. Alright, I have sewn up the inside here, see? And now, oops, got some trash on it. And so now it's ready to go. And then what I've done is I've pinned all along the edges. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sew very tiny rim all around the edges. And alright, I did a little experiment, and a lined hood was too bulky. It wouldn't lay right, and it just really bunched up on the doll. So we're going to do an unlined hood, which will look totally fine too. We just have to, there's a couple techniques to make it look nice. Now what we need to do is we need to sew all the way across this, pressing this flat. So, I mean, I should be able to do it without a pin. There we go. Let's see here. I got some extra threads there, I'll trim those. Sew this on underneath there, and then he can have his hood up, or we can lay back around like it usually does, usually kind of laying around it, and you can bunch it up and kind of almost position it, and it won't be too bulky in the back. It'll look pretty right, just like that. Alright, so I'm going to take care of, I'm going to just actually sew mine on to the inside here, all around the edge, which should match up. I'll let you know if it does or if it needs to be gathered in certain places. You could also sew snaps onto the inside so that if you wanted it to be detachable, it could be detachable. But I'm going to make mine totally sewn on. So, alright. Alright, I had a phone call, but I wanted to keep working, so I wasn't filming. But I want to show you what we've done. So I took these parts and I cut them out of leather. Then I took these individual shapes and cut them out of leather again. Then we got, by layering it on, I got these more three-dimensional shapes. Cut this shape out of that leather piece, and I wanted the disc to be laying on top of it, so I cut that out of there and then cut that as a separate shape and cut this a little bit longer. In the pattern tracing, it'll be about that much longer so that you guys are cutting out the right shape. Then I put that disc over top of it. Now I assembled this, and then what I did was I took some of the green and I put it on the back. So after I painted this gold, I put the green behind it like that, and I beveled the edges of here. And so then I glued that together in the back. Now it has some slack, but instead of these pieces kind of looking like they're flopping around, because I put the green there, no matter how the belt moves, these pieces are always going to stay exactly the same together, and you're going to still get that seamless look without like these getting all close and bunched or whatever. It's going to keep that seamless look. So that's where we're at so far. Now because there's a little bit of slack, more slack than it kind of appears, he'll still be able to slide this on and off. It slides down his body, not up and over his head, but down his body. So that way you never have to try to cram the waist over top of the chest. So this just slides right down. So, and then I just painted these details on. He's pretty inconsistently drawn, which means that you can do whatever you want, pretty much. I've got these pieces cut out, and these pieces are going to go here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure it out, basically exactly where I want it, and then I'm going to bevel these edges. That just means cutting it so that they're like little wedges, and then I'm going to glue those together. And this is the fabric glue that I'm using.